Welcome, my dear learners. Today I want us to talk about indices. And then after this we are going to talk about standard forms. So indices are very important in our mathematics because indices will provide a way of writing long multiplication expression compactly, or writing long multiplication expressions in a short way. For example, if I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So I have multiplied 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've multiplied 2 6 times, or I've multiplied 2 by itself 6 times. So in a short way, or using indices, then I can write this one as 2 to the power 6. So what the power, so this is the power. So what this tell? It tells us how many times we multiply the base, and this one is the base. So this is the base. So now we want to learn more about how we can use indices in our mathematics. So now we will start with we are going to look at the rules or the laws of indices. So let's start with rule 1, or the first rule. The rule 1 talks about multiplying powers of the same base. So powers of the same base. You remember we said power is this number which we write at the top, which is the small number, and then the base is this one at the bottom, so which is the bigger number. So now we want to multiply powers of the same base. I'll make an example of, we have a to the power 3, or a cubed. We multiply by a squared. So this a is the base, and these 2 and 3 are the powers. All right, so now let me remove this. So let's see what we get if we multiply this one. So we can say a to the power 3 is a times a times a. So we multiply a 3 times, and then we bring this multiplication sign here, and then a to the power 2, or a squared, is a multiplied by itself 2 times. A multiplied by itself 2 times. And then what we have now, we have a multiplied by itself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We have a multiplied by itself 5 times, so we have a to the power 5. So now what this suggests is that we could, instead of writing this, we could write this one as a to the power 3 plus 2. What we did here, we added the powers. We added the powers, we added 3 and 2. So that is when we are multiplying. So we are going to get a to the power 5, which is the same as this one. We're going to get a to the power 5. So this leads us to the rule. So what does rule 1 say? It's rule 1. So rule 1 will say a to the power m times a to the power n is equals to a to the power m plus n, which is a, oh yeah, so it's, let me end here, I cannot continue. So it's going to be, so this is our first rule. So we can make an example where we use the first rule. So let's look at an example. We say if we have 3 to the power 4 times 3 to the power 5. So this one is giving us 3 to the power 4 plus 5, which is 3 to the power 9. 3 to the power 9. So this is the first rule. Now let's move on to the second rule, rule 2. Rule 2. So the second rule talks about raising a power to another power. You are raising a power to another power. So let's make an example. We have a to the power 4 squared. So what we are doing here, we have two powers now. We are raising this power, a to the power 4 to a to 2, yes, which is a to the power 4 squared, or a to the power 4 to the power 2. So now this one we can write it in simple ways, like we have a to the power 4 times a to the power 4. And we can now use the first rule. You remember the first rule? It says in the first rule, so this is the rule: if we have a powers of the same base, we are going to add the powers. So now let's see if that one can work for us here. So let's see if this one can work for us here. Where am I? Sorry. All right. So now we have a to the power 4 times a to the power 4. So actually this is a, not 9. So this one is going to be a to the power 4 plus 4, which is a to the power 8. So this one is a to the power 8. Now what you can, I want you to look at the relationship between this number 8 and this one. So what you will observe here is that to get 8, we simply multiplied 4 and 2. So this one therefore leads us to the rule, 2. So the rule 2, now what it states that a to the power m to the power n is equals to a to the power m n. So what we do, we multiply this one just like we did here. We multiplied 4 and 2. We multiplied 4 and 2 this to get 8. Okay, so that is the second rule. So maybe if we can do an example for the second rule now. So our example would be, let's take just numbers. Let's say we take 3 squared to the power 4. So here we have a 3 to the power 2 times 4. So we multiply the powers, or we multiply the indices. This gives us 3 to the power 8. Okay, so that is the second rule. Now I want us to move on to the third rule.